Hey y'all, welcome back to another East Texas Women podcast video. We're so excited to have you joining us today. And if you haven't seen one before, let me tell you a little bit about it. What we do is we bring our East Texas women who've already been featured on the news side of things, and we get to bring them in to talk all things about them. We get to hear about their story behind the story that's already shared. We get to go into all the things that maybe we didn't make it into the final video because you guys don't know, we usually sit down for about a 30-minute interview, and then I cut it down to a 1 minute 30 video for the news side of things. So I'm really excited to be able to dive into, their stories a little bit more and have you guys learn more about them. So before we meet our guest this week, we're going to learn a little bit more about her. So why don't you take it away? Oh my goodness, I always love watching our old videos back again. It brings me back into the moment of filming because it's been a little while. So Nikki, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Nikki Keegan, Patrol Lieutenant for Smith County Sheriff's Office.
And so, it's so nice to have you in today. A little bit different from the last time we met back at your own office where things usually go. So yeah, it looks a little bit different here, doesn't it?
It does, definitely.
And so, I'm so excited to have you in today to just learn more about you. And so, to kick things off, why don't we go back to the day that we actually filmed everything and chat a little bit about that? So, just tell me a little bit about how things went. I know, y'all, fun fact is her husband actually was the one that recommended me to her, or recommended her to me to become an East Texas woman. Did you know that he even did that?
Afterwards, he told me, I was like, why would you do that to me?
Because did I tell you in the moment? I just said, "Oh, somebody recommended you to me, didn't they?"
Yes, yes. And I was like, I wonder who that could be.
You know what's funny? I didn't realize you guys were married too. I didn't look at the last name, so I was just like, "Wow, like that's awesome. He's recommending somebody so cool to be featured on here." Does he do that to you
All the
often?
time. All the time. He's my biggest supporter, and that's okay.
Because you guys are both in law enforcement. He does stuff like that too, doesn't he?
Yes, yes, for sure.
And what does he do again?
He's the police chief in ARP.
Okay, yes, because I drove to ARP that day. I thought you had worked with
I was like, why
ARP.
is she in ARP?
Thank goodness we made it work, and I drove back to Smith County. And so I know we just watched it in the video, so people were reminded about what you do. But can you explain to me, what your role is right now, and kind of explain what that looks like on a day-to-day basis?
I'm currently over a whole rotation like we have 2 shifts in the county. So I'm the patrol lieutenant for the B rotation. So I have about 20 deputies and 4 sergeants that I'm in charge of, and just day-to-day operations and um, just supervising and managing those shifts.
Okay, so she's in charge. That's what I'm hearing. And so, what does it mean to, like you said, like managing? Does that mean you're one-on-one, like kind of mentorship, or is it more like doing scheduling? Like, kind of explain that a little bit about what that means.
The sergeants usually do the scheduling. I kind of keep my eye on it though to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to. But yeah, I mean, I'm there, and they know that I have an open door policy. They can come talk to me if they have any issues or just want to say hi is fine too. I try to get out and answer calls with them as my paperwork and my other my role allows. But yeah, so I'm really just there to help them to facilitate what they need and make sure that they have what they need to be able to do their jobs.
Yeah. And so, you've done a lot in your career, moved different places, but before we talk about all those moves and how it led to you being here, why don't we go back to the beginning of really what sparked your interest in going into law enforcement in the first place?
Well, I don't remember if I had told you, but I initially started college pre-med, and maybe chose poorly. I don't know. But I just wasn't really interested once I kind of got into some of those classes, and I took a criminal justice class, and I was like, "Ah, this is pretty cool." So that's what changed it and what led me to get my degree in criminal justice.
And so I also did a major change in college, but whenever you took that class, was there anything specific that you thought, wow, this could be for me, this could be my future?
Well, it was at TJC, and one of my instructors had been a police officer, and so he had like real life experience that he was able to share, and the cool stories and stuff. And so I thought that was neat, and I was like, okay, I think this could be interesting. So
Mhm. And little did you know you'd be here one day, a couple years down the line, you'd have an amazing career in
I
it.
definitely didn't see myself coming back here to police, I guess.
Mhm. And so, yeah, after you graduated, kind of walk us through that journey. Where did you head to next?
Well, I applied several different places, and it was kind of just whoever would bite first. Really, would be where I would go. I mean, I was young. I didn't have a family or anything, kids or anything like that. So it didn't really matter to me where I went. But I applied with Arlington Police Department and went through their process, and they hired me, and that was where I started.
Yeah, and I mean, you spent a little bit of time there from what I remember from the last time we chatted,
Hmm.
and that's also where you made a career change, or not a career change, but within going, I guess, moving up in the process. So,
Yeah.
can you tell us what it was like going from like just an entry level to moving into that different type of role? Maybe explain what that is if people hadn't heard it yet.
Well, I started I graduated the academy and then you do field training. And once I got through field training, I was released on my own on an evening shift. So I worked 11 to 3, 11 p to 3 a, no, 3, 3 p to 11 p. Um, and just work patrol, you answer calls, you do all those things. And I did that for a little over 6 years. And then an opening came for a domestic and sex crimes detective. And so I put in for that and was selected to do that. And I did that for about 2.5 years.
And I remember last time whenever we had talked about, your career, that can be a really tough thing to witness and a really tough, I mean, job just for mental health wise. And you told me some really cool things that I don't know if actually made it into the final video, just about how you keep that good mental health whenever you're working a job that can be kind of heavy, especially, but important job, but heavy on the person working it.
Yeah, it's definitely can be heavy. um, I guess I've always just had an outgoing, kind of easygoing personality. I try not to let things get me down, even like in my personal life and stuff. So just having a positive outlook helps. Having a good support team helps. Before I got married, I have a strong family and siblings, and so I always had people to kind of bounce things off of, and just hobbies. Trying to find different hobbies, the things that you like to do that kind of help you take you away from the job.
Mhm. And that stuck with me too because being in news, we can also see stuff that's not good to see every single day. So I
Yep.
I took that advice and I was like, actually, that's really good because I need to hear that sometimes. And just keep a good balance because it can be hard to find that in any job, but especially one where you guys see stuff that the bad stuff. So I was appreciative whenever you had told me the what you do and advice, I guess.
I think it's important for anybody. I mean, no matter what, I mean, everybody perceives stress differently, and the different things that people see. Somebody might see something just driving to work that they're not used to seeing, and so I think that can go for anybody. Just having an outlet is important. A healthy outlet is important.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And pivoting a little bit, one thing I want to make sure we touch on is education. Because when we talked the first time, you had such a passion talking about what you did and kind of going back to school. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, so I guess it was never really an option for me once I graduated high school. It was I'm going to go to college and figure it out, and um, so that's what I did. And then once I got out with my bachelor's degree, I got to working, and I thought, well, eventually I'd like to go get my master's and just kind of continue my education. And it took me maybe 16 years to get to that point where I felt like I could tackle that, and um, and I found a program online, and it took me about 15 months, and I didn't tell you before, but I graduated with a 4.0.
Ooh, girl, yes.
So I was very proud of that, being, a full-time working mom on top of that. So
Mhm.
I thought that was a good accomplishment.
Yes, that is inspiring. I remember it vividly too because my mom had just gone
Yeah.
through the same thing, which watching her do it, I had so much respect for her. So I can't imagine. I mean, her kids were grown whenever she had done it. So you doing it whenever you also have your family, growing up and things, it's so impressive. So congratulations. Like
Thank you.
I have so much respect for that. And also amazing the commitment to go back and, to keep learning more and bettering yourself. That's amazing.
It is, and that's what I try to stress to my guys too, is that, you're never too old, obviously, to, further your education, to do better for yourself. And with them at our job, like I think I told you, I didn't get any kind of monetary reimburse or, benefit basically from my master's. But they do with an associate's and a bachelor's degree. They do get pay steps, and for our state licensing, if we bump up to the next level, you get more money for that. And
Mm,
who doesn't like that? That's always good, especially for the younger guys that really need it. So that's why I just
mhm.
stress keep pushing and work towards your goals.
Yeah, no, it can be important, and I mean, it helps you be maybe a little bit rounded person. Did you, from what you learned going back to school, did you take it into your job? Is there anything that you look back on, and you're like, oh, I definitely use that now?
Yeah, I think a lot of community policing. I mean, the county is different than working for a police department. I've learned that working in both, uh, jurisdiction type things, and um, just being able to communicate with the public is important, and understanding, their concerns and their issues. And I found in this job a lot of times people just want to be heard, and I think being patient and listening to them is a learned thing that takes
Mhm.
experience and time to, I guess, cultivate.
No, yeah, I can definitely see that. And one thing also I wanted to talk about is, oh my goodness, my brain is blinking. I just had it now. Now
Mine does
I,
that all the time.
right, it happens so easily, where it's right at the tip of your tongue and then it goes away. But oh, that's what it was. I wanted to talk about from the last time we talked, kind of the mentorship, because you told me some stories of other women who have kind of, filled your cup as you've gone along in your very impressive career doing really cool things, and how you're kind of getting to do that and also pour into other people now that you're in kind of more of a leadership role. So, can you tell me a little bit about that mentorship that goes both ways? That people have mentored you and who you've also mentored.
Well, and I think that is also a thing that we learn as we get older and get more experience. Is my first one of my training officers, she was really hard on me, and I thought, man, she's so mean. But it was for a purpose. And funny thing, after I got out of training and got out on my own, I did all my years on patrol, and then when I went to be a detective, she was actually in that unit also. And so it was kind of a full circle where now she's mentoring me on how to be a detective and how to, investigate. And we had a really strong team of female detectives in that unit, and they just were very supportive and there if I had any questions, and just really great group of ladies. And then moving
Mhm.
forward now, we don't have very many females on patrol anymore, but I'm always looking like, people want to come work for us. But it's important for the ones we do have to know to just, be strong, be assertive, and do your job, and don't stop, pushing for your goals, whatever it is that you want.
And I was gonna ask you too. I mean, I had thought that it's a more male-dominated field, but I didn't know for sure. So I was gonna ask you about that and kind of how it's been stepping into leadership and going through a process in a field that necessarily doesn't have as many women in it.
Sometimes that can be challenging. We don't have it kind of ebbs and flows. We have 5 or 6 on patrol, and then like when I very first started here on patrol, there was like one other female, and that was it. And
Mm.
so now, like I think I told you, I'm the only female leadership on patrol. Um, and I think I only have right now I have I have 2 female deputies. That's it right now. But you know, I think being the boss per se is not like I'm the boss, and I don't lead like that. Um, and I think they all respect that, I guess, and I've never had any issues with them, you know, I guess listening or or doing what I needed them to do. Because, like I said, I don't lead by, demanding and
Mm,
being the authoritarian, and maybe that's not right all the time, but, I feel like I accomplish more,
mm,
being accessible and personable with them.
yeah. No, I can do that, and I could, you know what I could see, especially just from the short time we've been able to speak to each other, is leading by example. Because I know from what I've seen, I would want to be just like you too. So I bet that's a big thing too that people would follow. Because you've had a very impressive career. Whenever you first sent me your bio, I was like, this is awesome. She's done so many cool things.
Thank you.
And it's so impressive to know that you're one of the only women in leadership. Like, pat on the back to you. Like, it's so impressive to see somebody be able to do something like that and, lead the way for other women in the future. And I don't know if that's your goal, but I could definitely see you paving a path like that for the women to come behind you, maybe the younger ones.
Hope so, yes.
And so on that note, my favorite and I guess question that I ask every single time, but I find it so important. I love hearing the advice people give is we'll move towards that kind of thing is what advice would you give to people who might be thinking about going into law enforcement, especially women who have thought, maybe that's for me.
I mean, you can do anything. You can do anything you put your mind to, and, I'm sure there are some that probably think, "Oh, it's male dominated, it'd be harder for me." Um, I don't think so. I've always pushed hard, and I've always, done everything that I'm supposed to, so, I feel like, education is important. I think you should definitely get your education, and then if this were something you'd wanna go to, then, start looking. Most people, obviously, they're gonna look local, with their hometowns, wherever. Um, I find that some younger people who don't have ties, they may look in bigger areas, but, just jump in, apply, and see what happens because you never know. And I feel like if you got a strong work ethic and you are determined, you can make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. It all comes towards taking that first step, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, it's always just the first step that you've gotta get past. It's always the biggest for me. And so, for people that don't know, because I didn't know before we talked the first time, and in your career, like, from looking at it, you can see, okay, she's taken every step up. What does it look like to go through that process of, like, going through the academy first, and then you move on
Mhm.
from there? Okay.
Yeah, so anywhere you have to go to a police academy, graduate, start on patrol. For me, like I said, I had, positions open. Some agencies are different. Some require you to work, X amount of years in a spot before you can move up. But for me, it was just positions came open, and I was like, I think I could maybe do that. I'm gonna try that. And then, when I came back home and I was on patrol for a little while, and then a detective spot opened, and I was like, yeah, I think I want to do that.
Mm,
And same thing with sergeant, CID sergeant. I was like, I want to take the next step. I think I'm ready. Um, so and that's just kind of how it's gone. I've just anything that comes open that I feel like I know I could do that or I'd like to try that, then that's what I do. That's
mhm.
where I am right now.
Yeah. And what a great way to like move forward to like step by step going up in your career. And you can see it. Like I keep talking about it, y'all. It's because I saw it listed out on paper of her bio of like, yes, she did this and this and this. And so that's why I'm so impressed because I've seen it like line by line of her growth in the industry, which is amazing. And I'm glad okay, you just said I'm glad you brought it up too. How has it been like coming back to the Smith County area and kind of serving that community that you grew up in a way?
Yeah, it was, like I said, it's different working for a police department to a sheriff's office.
Mhm.
Um, but I feel like in the sheriff's office we have, a family type feel.
Mm.
It's a little more close knit because it is a little bit smaller, so you know everybody. And but being in my hometown has been a little different because sometimes you run into people that you went to school with, and you're like, oh, that's not good choices.
Oh, no.
But I feel more a sense of, um, responsibility, I guess, and dedication because I did grow up here, and so it's kinda neat to be able to give back in that manner.
Yeah. I think that's so cool to be able to, to go out and serve the area that you really grew up in. And you went away, of course, to work other places and move up, and now you can come back in a leadership role. I mean, how cool is that? To be able to be a part of something like that. And so, okay, back to the advice. I went a little bit off the trail there. In going back to advice that you would just give to other women watching this, or just people in general, kind of that last gold nugget that you would want people to know.
I don't think it's just my profession. I think, like I said, it's any profession. You got to set goals. You have to push forward, and sometimes you have to do things that are not easy. And but you got to do it. Set the goals. Keep moving. And once you set those goals and you achieve one, set another one. Keep moving. That's all. To me, you just have to keep your eye on the horizon and keep moving up.
But what good advice. Okay, I've said this on so many videos, but it's so true. One day, somebody told me that I should write a book of all the advice that I'm hearing
That's
from these
good. Yeah.
incredible women, and you just made the book with that. Like that, it's so true. The great advice that I've heard, and that other people are now getting to hear through this podcast. It is just so amazing. What you said is so true. So, girl, snaps on that. And on that note, we can kind of go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you to everybody else who is joining us online. Y'all, it is so great to be able to bring these women into the podcast room and hear more about their stories and just hear all about it. So thank you for joining us this week, and we will see you again for the next one. Bye, y'all.